Not Worrying About Money is currently winning. So that is awesome. We're going to talk about financial freedom. We're going to talk about goal setting, budgeting, all that kind of stuff today. So, living a financially healthy life. So welcome to today's workshop. My name is Chad. I am the Assistant of Marketing and Program Management with the Canadian Foundation for Economic Education and the Program Coordinator for the Help Managing Your Money on Campus program. The Canadian Foundation for Economic Education is pleased to partner with post-secondary schools across Canada to help students get a better handle on their money. So today's topic is living a financially healthy life. We're going to cover some very important information that you can implement right away to take control of your money. These workshops are intended to serve as a foundational resource to get you thinking about your finances, not as a final stop in your financial journey. Consider the information and see how you can apply the concepts covered to your personal financial situation. Also, please understand that while I'll do my best to answer all related questions, I'm not going to be digging into things beyond the scope of today's conversation. If you have a specific question that I'm unable to address, consider setting up an appointment with a financial professional. The program Help Managing Your Money on Campus is designed to help support students by providing comprehensive financial education modules. This is so important and timely because more than ever, we live in a complex financial world. The majority of you likely already have or soon will experience this world of financial costs, responsibilities, planning, spending, debt, credit cards, and so much more. And that's why we've partnered with universities and colleges across the country to help equip students with the information they need to take on all of life's financial challenges. So in the first half of 2020, we asked students about their priorities and what they want to learn more about. Nearly 1,500 students answered our survey from 94 post-secondary institutions across the country, and this is what we learned. Our research identified that nearly 2/3 of students are currently dealing with financial stress. 57% are looking for help preparing and working with a budget, and not only that, but half of students also reported having difficulty generally knowing how to manage their finances. That's where today's workshop came from, to help address some of these different concerns and develop strategies for students to be able to get a better handle on their money, manage their budget, maybe find a budget that works better for them, and move forward without being overwhelmed by financial stress. So what is financial freedom? This is what we had in our initial icebreaker there. It's a term that we often come across nowadays. Everybody comes up with their own different definition of it. Some say it's about buying what you want whenever you want it, having no debt, being able to support yourself, or simply just, they say it's being rich. In general, we say that financial freedom means that you get to make life decisions without being overly stressed about the financial impact because you're prepared. You control your finances instead of being controlled by them. It's not about being rich and having a ton of money, but about having enough to cover your expenses so that you can spend your precious time doing what you like rather than doing things just to earn money. You're living your life not just to survive, but to thrive. In today's workshop, we're going to look at 3 major topics. First, we're going to talk about goal setting, then budgeting and spending, and finally, saving. After the workshop, I want you to be able to make more informed purchase decisions, understanding why you make those decisions and being able to, think about, is this something I want to actually do? You want to be able to create a personal budget that includes savings and other goals, and understand and apply compound interest to increase your savings longer term. So first up, we're going to talk about goal setting. Goal setting is a very important pillar for building financial stability for yourself and getting to financial freedom, but it can be very challenging. So it's important you find an approach that works for you and that you take the time and practice setting goals rather than thinking you're going to do it perfectly the first time. We're going to talk about our money decisions, the importance of having a roadmap, and setting some SMART goals. Most people make spending decisions every day. It may be to take a bus, buy something for lunch, put money in a parking meter, or buy a new app, go to a movie. There's so many different reasons why we need money nowadays. Like it or not, Money allows us to get and do a lot of things. Try and think of the last day when you didn't spend money or make a decision about how to use money, whether it was your money or someone else's. When we make money decisions, it's very important to think about the factors that are affecting that decision. When you last made a purchase, was it connected to your emotions? Were you happy? Were you sad? And that's why you wanted to make that purchase. Was it that friends or peers were already doing something, right? Maybe they all had something, or they were going to the movies, or they were going out for food. And was that the reason that you were pushed towards making that decision? These are not necessarily bad things, but they're things that help us understand why, so that we can make better decisions in the future. If we know that our emotions have a strong impact on our purchasing, right? When we're in a very good mood, we're inclined to buy things. Then that can help us decide the next time we're going to buy something, is it just because I'm in a good mood? If it's because we're in a good mood and it's not something that's going to benefit us long term, then maybe we decide not to do that. By understanding your factors that are influencing the decisions, understanding your emotions, understanding those influences that push you towards buying, it can help us get a better handle on making decisions we want to make, not just being influenced by the world around us to start making decisions. So here are a few steps to help with our decision-making process. First, think about your thinking. This ties in a little bit into our last slide about the factors, but take a moment to think about why you're making a decision. That might sound a little weird, but to make a good decision, it helps to take a minute or so to think about the choice you're making and why you're making it. Many people make decisions without really thinking about why they're making that particular choice. Is it because it's the kind of decision you've always made? Because you're trying to make someone happy, because you think it will make you happy, because of what someone taught you, because it's part of who you are and reflects your values. Take the time to think about the why behind your decision. If you then determine that, the reason I'm considering this decision is a good reason, then you can start to think about your opportunity cost. What are you giving up by making that decision? Every decision has an opportunity cost. You have to give up one thing in order to get another thing. You could be giving up something else you could buy with the money you're spending, or something you could do with the time you're investing, or another city you could be visiting, or another course at school you could be taking. Among all the possible alternatives, what is the next best thing that you'll be giving up? That is your opportunity cost. If after thinking about the opportunity cost, you decide this is still the best option for me, then you can start to think about your future trade-offs. In addition to what you might be giving up today, what might you be giving up in the future because of your decision? What could be different if you waited to make this decision? If you've got a goal of saving up to get a car next year, and then you decide to go on a vacation, that's going to greatly impact your ability to be able to get that car, because you're going to be taking money that you should be setting aside for that, right? That could be a future trade-off for your decision. Then you need to think about, can you actually afford the cost? Do you have the money to actually pay for it? If not, are you going to use a credit card? Will you have the money to pay off the card balance when you get your bill, or are you going to be carrying a balance into the future? If you're carrying a balance, you've got to worry about interest. You've got to make sure you're paying at least that minimum amount so that it's not negatively impacting your credit score significantly. Even if you pay that minimum amount, if your credit card is almost maxed, that's still going to have a potentially negative impact on your credit score. So how long is it going to take you to pay it off? And how much is it actually going to cost by the time you do get it paid off? This last one isn't necessarily another step, but it flips the whole process on its head. We often take pride in the physical things that we have, the stuff that we do, our experiences, our stuff. If you can instead change your mentality, change your mindset to take pride in financial stability, be proud of the fact that you're comfortable and you can do the things you want to do, instead of just doing something that isn't really important to you right now, but you did it. Instead, focus on building that financial stability and being happy about it. Then when you go through the process, you're no longer going to be convincing yourself not to do something. You're going to be convincing yourself to do something. And so you're going to stop. It's going to become much easier to eliminate the things that don't matter to you throughout the process and only get to those things that do matter. And you're going to get a lot more value from the things you end up doing. Another important tip is thinking about needs and wants. So a need is something like housing, transportation to work or the grocery store, food, your phone. Another need is a form of savings. Having savings is a key for financial well-being, to help you and your family weather the storm that life can sometimes feel like. Needs are the things you actually can't go through life without. They are your essentials. A want could be a more expensive form of a need, like going to a restaurant for dinner or buying the newest cell phone, going on a vacation in another country instead of, a staycation, getting a new car instead of a used car, a ticket to a concert. Wants are those extras, the things that add value to your life, but are not essential. When it comes to determining needs and wants, there's going to be an element of personal value within the decisions, but you need to be honest with yourself as to what is actually a need and what is a want, because it's going to be very important when it comes to creating a budget and managing your finances. You need to plan your cash flow and your budget to ensure that you can cover your needs first. Once you've paid for your needs, including a certain amount of savings, then you can start to decide how you want to spend that extra money on your wants. This is going to allow you to pave the way towards that longer term financial stability. So you need to make sure that you are aware of the difference between a need and a want when it comes to prioritizing. You're only lying to yourself if you put something in the wrong category, right? If you make something that is actually a want, you classify it as a need, it's just going to get harder for you when you start to go through difficult times and now everything is a need. How are you going to know what to eliminate? You're going to have to go back through the whole process. That's going to add additional stress. So by classifying your needs and your wants appropriately, you may still have the cash available to do some of those wants that you would consider, maybe a want plus, right? Those top tier wants. But there's going to be times when maybe you don't. And so if you classify it as a want, it's easier to, maybe set it aside this month, whatever it might be. You need to identify the kind of spender you are. Are you somebody that wants to spend lots of money on doing extras, or are you somebody who, has that financial stability mindset? A good approach is to sleep on it, right? That idea of take time to think about your spending decisions rather than being compulsive. Is it a need? Is it a want? It might feel like a need right now, but will it feel like a need tomorrow? Here's some shopping tips to help as well when it comes to spending. First, unit pricing. Look at unit prices. It might technically be cheaper to buy a 3-pack of something than it is to buy a 5-pack of something, but is it going to end up being cheaper in the long run? If you look at unit pricing, you might discover that 5-pack is going to be cheaper per item than the 3-pack. If you are looking at what we call non-perishable items, then going towards unit pricing, finding the cheapest options can be a great way to save yourself money in the long run. It's often going to cost you more a little bit right now, right? That's the whole idea of Costco, is it costs you more right now, but maybe you don't have to go as often because you bought more of it at once and you're able to use it over a longer time frame. But make sure that it's only things that you're going to actually be able to use in that quantity. If it's something that you bought extra of it and you ended up throwing half of it out, you didn't save yourself money, it cost you extra. Create a shopping list. Shopping list is a great way to keep yourself on track in the grocery store. I often recommend, make your list as you're using things so that when you actually need it, or when you're going to use it, then you know that it's something you actually need. It's not just what's missing on the shelf. Sales are a really great way to cut back on your overall costs, but only if it's something that you actually need. Sales are meant to pull you in and get you buying things that you didn't actually want. So if it's something that you're only going to buy because it's on sale, then that's probably not the best way to use a sale. You might buy it when it's on sale this time, but now you like it and it's not on sale next time, and now you're spending extra. Sales, if it's something that you're already shopping for that's on sale, that's awesome. And to do that, you can use apps like Flip or Reedy, where you create a shopping list and you can find the items that are on sale. And if you go to a store that price matches, then you can get those cheaper prices on all your items and save yourself money. Buying store brands is a great step for that as well. And don't shop for groceries when you're hungry, because everything's going to look appealing. On the flip side, don't shop for groceries when you're full, because then nothing's going to look appealing and you'll end up missing a bunch of things you actually needed because you're not in the mood for it. And then you'll have to go back. So find that happy medium, maybe set aside a time in the week or every 2 weeks or whenever you go grocery shopping that, you know, you're in that right mindset to go to the store and get what you need. There's no shortage of advice that you're likely to receive about how to effectively manage your money and what you should be doing with your money. But in the end, it's up to you to decide. You're going to decide what your immediate needs and wants are and what you really want or need in life. A key factor that can affect your decisions are your goals. If you have goals, hopes, and things that you want to achieve in the future, then they should and will have an impact on the decisions you make. Therefore, setting goals for yourself can be a powerful incentive to help move you in the right direction. Why can goals make a difference? If you have goals, you'll have to consider the possible trade-offs when you make decisions. And saving to achieve a goal can be a very rewarding, personally satisfying confidence builder for yourself. Achieving a goal can help you prove to yourself that you can accomplish what you set your mind to and inspire you to aim for other goals and to achieve other things. A lot of good money habits are about changing your behaviors and building upon your successful achievement of various goals. Though money doesn't buy happiness, it does play an important role in most people's lives. We may wish it weren't true, but it is. Earning money, spending money, saving money, investing money, losing money, giving money away. We make all kinds of decisions, often daily, about money. Money can help us out, but it can also cause problems. You can get into debt, cause stress, tension, anxiety. To avoid money problems, it's best to try and stay in control of your money and how it affects your life. You'll want to maximize the help that money can provide and minimize the problems that it can cause. Today is the best time to start to take control of your money, and the best way to take control is to be prepared and plan. Planning how to handle money is not only for those who have lots of money. In fact, the less money you have, the more important it is to plan. You want to get the most out of what little you do have available, rather than, always feeling like you're scraping at the bottom of the barrel. As you build a plan for yourself, consider the different time periods. Your short term is what you hope to achieve over the next year, maybe in the next week or month. The medium term is, usually 1 to 3 years. Long term is 3 to 5 years. And then the more distant future is 5 years and beyond. Short-term goals can be very helpful as stepping stones to achieve your medium-term goals. So for example, if you're looking to save up for a car, break it into monthly savings goals over the next few years. Then use medium-term goals as stepping stones to long-term goals, and so on. Doing this gives you some checkpoints to see how you're doing over time, and think about whether your goals have changed and if you want to change direction. As you succeed with your goals, find a way to celebrate those goals and be proud of what you've accomplished. If you're in your teens or early 20s, your thoughts are probably mostly on personal relationships, your education, your job, or your work opportunities, entertainment, sporting events, travel. You're likely thinking about possible careers, educational options, work opportunities, and prospects, perhaps moving out on your own. Over time, though, and at different stages of life, our priorities and concerns can and will change. Taking control of your financial affairs means thinking about the various stages of your own life cycle. You can't think only about what's important today. You also have to think about what will be important to you in the future and at a future stage in your life cycle. Finding a balance between today and the future is important. Develop a plan that helps you live as happy a life as you can today, next month, and into the future. So let's watch a video about SMART goals, a very important concept when it comes to goal setting.
So what is a SMART goal? Well, let's cover the definition of a goal first. A goal is a desired result that you envision, plan, and commit to achieving. But most people never reach their goals. We live in a microwave society. We want our dreams and we want them now, without putting in the work to get there. But goals are achieved in a slow cooker. It takes time, which means small, intentional steps every day. Chris Hogan, a leadership and retirement expert, says,
"A dream without a plan is a wish."
That was weird. That's why New Year's resolutions rarely work. In January, you can't find an empty Stairmaster at the gym, but by March, it's a ghost town. Where did all those people go? Well, we don't need an in-depth Dateline investigation to figure out what happened here. They didn't set SMART goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-sensitive. Setting a resolution to lose weight won't cut it. But if you set a SMART goal to drop 20 pounds by March 15th by going to the gym 3 times a week and cutting out milkshakes, you'll be more likely to succeed. At Ramsey Solutions, we recommend you.
Okay. So we're going to do a Zoom poll to look at a couple of different SMART goals. So we want to take a few minutes and look at these different options. You can select all that you think qualify as SMART goals. So this isn't just intelligent or good idea goals. These are specifically SMART, the acronym. A few more seconds. Okay, let's look at the results. Okay, so it seems like in general, we're doing a pretty good job of identifying the different SMART goals. Exercise 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. I'd say that that's probably a SMART goal, right? We have a specific idea of what we're trying to do, right? We're exercising. Maybe we could come up with a more clear definition of what exercise is. But if it's something that's going to change every time we do it, we at least know that we're exercising for 30 minutes a day, right? We've made that clear to ourselves. It's something that we can measure. Is it realistic? Is it achievable? Yes, we can definitely do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Maybe depending on our schedules, 5 days a week might be a little bit hard, but it depends on the individual. And is it time bound? That might be the area where I'd say that this one lacks a little bit. We could probably say 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for the next 2 months or something like that, even for a month, right? Give ourselves that timeline so that we know when it's accomplished. The only one that I see here that looks like it's lacking a little bit is save money. While save money is a good goal to have, it's not actually a SMART goal. We'd want to have something like save 5% of each paycheck for the next 3 months or something like that, right? That gives us a better definition of how much we're doing, when we're doing it. It's something that we can and will be able to do consistently. So here is a activity sheet to help break down some SMART goals for you. This will be available in the resource document that will be sent out after the workshop. So it gives you some little prompts for each of the different steps in order to help break that goal down. So think about one goal. How is it specific, right? How do you identify? What are you doing? When are you doing it? Why are you doing it? What is your goal? Okay. How are you going to measure your goal? How are you going to track your progress? Now, how are you going to actually meet that goal? What do you need to do? What is your part to make that goal happen? It needs to be action oriented. It can't just be something that's going to passively happen. Your goal can't be to have 50 people give me a high five. You didn't do anything. That's not a goal. That's just a thing that happens to you. That's a hope. If it was to high five 50 people, you now have some of the step behind it. You're doing something, you're responsible for it. Then you need to decide, is it realistic about this goal? Is it something you can actually do? And realistic is important, not just about making sure that it's not beyond your limits, but is it actually pushing your limits, right? Don't set a goal that is just so easy that of course you're going to accomplish it and you haven't actually done much of anything, right? Set a goal to push yourself. Come up with a goal that is within your limits, but is pushing you to do better. And then have that deadline. If you don't have that deadline, that's when the procrastinator has the opportunity to just keep pushing it off till later. Keep pushing it off. Set that deadline for yourself. So the last thing in this section we're going to look at briefly is retirement. So retirement feels like it's a very long way away. And for many of us, it might be. But it is still something we need to think about, right? Retirement feels like a very abstract concept. But if it stays an abstract concept for too long, then you're not going to be able to plan effectively. Maybe you don't need to start putting plans into place yet to prepare for retirement, but it'll help give you an idea when you might need to start to plan for retirement. So in general, when it comes to retirement, the two main sources of income that people are going to have provided to them is CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, and OAS. So CPP, it is a public plan that is available. You pay into it off of each paycheck. It is available to all Canadians who have contributed. So the maximum amount that you can claim through CPP is $15,000 per year. On average, people collect about $9,300 each year. Now, old age security is for anyone who has lived in Canada for at least 10 years. You don't have to put any money into it. It's just a government support that's available. The maximum amount you can claim is $7,700 per year. So if you were getting the maximum amount of both CPP and OAS, you've got $23,000 per year in income coming in through the government programs available. For many people, depending on what you want to be doing in retirement, that might not be enough money. If you've got any form of rent that you're still paying or a mortgage that you're still paying, if you want to travel, if you want to be doing things in your retirement, that may not be enough money for you. So that's where it comes to making a retirement goal. Setting a SMART goal for retirement, even if it's something that you start to implement after you've graduated or 5 years after starting a job or something like that, by setting a SMART goal, you're able to figure out where you want to get at the end and break down the pathway to get there. So a good rule to determine how much you'll need to retire is to look at your desired annual retirement income and multiply it by 25. So if you think that you're going to want about $40,000 per year in retirement income, then you're going to need to have about $1 million saved up by the time you retire. There will be, things like CPP, things like OAS can help supplement that total amount. So maybe if your total income required is $40,000, then all you actually have to set aside is maybe $20,000. So you don't need that $1 million. But it can help give you a good idea and help push you to start setting those goals. The earlier you start, the easier it will be. If you wait until you're 50 years old to start saving for retirement at 65, then you're going to have to set aside a lot more per year to get to that goal than you would if you started saving when you were 20 years old or 25. So that is our first section. We talked about making good money decisions, thinking about your thinking, the importance of having a roadmap to your goals so that you're not just making a goal for right now. How do your goals right now impact your larger goals? And then set smart goals, not just, I want to save money. How much do you want to save? When do you want to save it? Why do you want to save it? Where's it going to go? How do you know if you're on track? Section 2, budgeting and spending. So first, I got a couple more quick polls here. First, do you have a budget? See what people say. Yes or no? Do you have a budget? Okay. So it seems like at the moment, people do not have a budget. That is completely fine. It's a really good thing to have. And we're going to look at a couple of different types of budgeting so that you can identify, which approach might work best for me, which will make it as easy as possible to help with sticking to that budget. So I'm going to skip the second one. We have the do you follow your budget in there to try and trick up the people who say they do have a budget. And then, well, do they actually stick with it? Usually you find they don't, or at least a good portion of people don't. But if we don't have budgets yet, then we're probably not following those budgets. So to fully understand and grasp the basics of budgeting, we have to know 3 terms that we use in building a budget. First is personal net income. Income is how much money you bring in on a regular basis, usually either monthly or annually. For example, if you make $1,000 per week, you'll have a monthly income of about $4,333, or an annual income or salary of $52,000. However, this isn't the same as your personal net income. Once you subtract expenses such as income taxes and pre-tax contributions, you'll arrive at your personal net income, which is the money you actually receive and don't owe the government, and you can spend it. So we need to use our personal net income, not just our personal income. That net income, taking out those expenses, that gives us the real value. If we use a value that is before taxes, then we're already behind, right? We could balance out our budget to 0, but if we forgot to pay the taxes out of it, now we don't have enough money. So we need to use that net income after taking out taxes. Next are our fixed expenses. The definition of a fixed expense is anything that does not change from period to period, such as a mortgage or rent payment, car insurance, phone bills. In some cases, the amount may vary slightly, which may be the case with things like utilities if you're renting, but you know that they're due on a regular basis, whether it's monthly or annually, and there's something that you have to pay by a certain time. Finally, our variable expenses. The definition of a variable expense can differ, but generally we look at them as anything that you can buy in a store or expenses that are within your control, things that you can turn off and on, things that you can buy in smaller or larger quantities. Those are likely going to be the easiest ones to change at your discretion. So why do we build a budget? Putting together a budget will help you manage and control your money. A budget is a plan for how you use your money on a month-to-month basis. It helps you look at your expenses, both those you have each month and those that come up now and then. It helps you work out how you will cover your expenses using your current income. Budget also helps you to save, build up your savings over time, and achieve your financial goals. A budget isn't just about cutting back. If anything, it can help give you greater financial freedom. When it comes to budgeting and financial planning, you'll hear that financial freedom term that we talked about at the beginning. This is really connected with budgeting because as much as we limit where we're spending our money, we often find when you first start up with a budget that there are a lot of little expenses that add up that you didn't realize, especially if it's things like maybe you have a subscription service that you sign up for a free version of it, and you were supposed to cancel, but you didn't cancel, and now you're being charged $7 a month, and you don't really notice it unless you're actively looking in your credit card or debit statement. And that adds up over a year. That $7 a month is significant. Another thing is coffee. If you spend $2 a day at Tim Hortons, then that's $730 a year on coffee you're spending. So those little expenses really add up if we don't keep track of them. And that's the benefit of a budget, is helping us keep track of all those small, unexpected, unnoticed expenses. Basically, at its core, a budget involves comparing your income and your expenses. It gives you a picture of your financial situation and where you may be headed, and it should give you a very clear indication of whether or not you are on the road to accomplishing your longer-term goals. Your budget must be realistic, and you have to be patient in order to actually accomplish your goals. Budgeting, saving, money, it doesn't just happen overnight. These are things that take time. You're not going to make a perfect budget the first time you try. You're going to miss things. You're going to misjudge things. Don't be discouraged. Just try to find the process that works well for you and make changes, update. If you guessed that this is how much you're going to spend and you ended up spending this much instead, think about, should I actually have spent this other amount that I budgeted, or is the amount that I did spend a more realistic amount in terms of my costs? Creating a budget for yourself could be a SMART goal that you could set up from this workshop using that SMART goal template that we will be providing in the resource document. So there are a couple of different budgets that we're going to look at in this particular workshop. The first is the zero-based budget. So let's watch another video, zero-based budget.
Action!
What is a zero-based budget? Well, let's define a budget first. Your average budget is a monthly estimate of income and expenses with a list of categories. In other words, it's just a plan for your money. At Ramsey Solutions, we recommend taking it one step further with a zero-based budget. The idea here is simple. The money that comes in minus the money that goes out equals zero, meaning you've told every penny exactly where it's going to go. Just like how you told that guy in traffic exactly where he was going to go. Now, making a zero-based budget isn't as hard as it sounds. Step 1, list your take-home pay for the month. Step 2, list all your expenses for the month, but start with these 5 categories: food, shelter, utilities, transportation, and clothing. The basics. You want to make sure your rent or mortgage is budgeted first before you start budgeting for something like your hot yoga membership. Jeff. Once the necessities are taken care of, move to step 3. List the rest of your expenses like haircuts, Netflix, date nights, plus all the stuff your kids need. Man, are kids really that expensive?
Yep.
Golly. Don't let life catch you off guard. Think ahead and plan for events or situations you need to save up for. Holidays, weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, chupacabras, you name it. You can even create a fund in your budget to put aside money every month so you're ready when that day comes. Christmas is on December 25th. Again, don't act surprised, people.
Action!
Okay, so zero-based budget. The steps re-outlined. First, write down your net income. So that personal net income, your take-home pay after taxes. Make sure that you're keeping track of everything that is considered your income. So if you have a full-time job, a second job, some freelance money, HST rebates, things like that, you want to include those as part of your personal net income for your budget. Then you need to list your expenses. You start with those priorities. If you want to look at the way that we talked about it earlier, you want to do those needs first. Your utilities, your fixed expenses, your needs need to be those top items. Once you've gotten all of those under control, then you can start to add in some of those wants and put your money there. Make sure that when you're creating your budget, you're including savings as one of the line items. Because if you don't include savings, then all you're doing is breaking even. You don't want to just break even. You want to help yourself get ahead. So you need to make sure you put savings as one of your fixed expenses in your budget. Then we're going to subtract our expenses from our income, and we want the final answer to be 0. Now, it might feel like having money left over is a better thing than having 0. But the point of this budget is to make sure that you know where all your money is going. If you have any money left over, then you have an opportunity to now spend it somewhere. And if you spend it somewhere and it's not somewhere that you factored in, you may end up spending a little bit more than you realized, and now it's throwing the rest of your budget off. With a zero-based budget, it's about structure. The final step with a zero-based budget is to track your spending. You need to keep track of where your money's going throughout the year or throughout the month or whatever your period is for your budget, so that the next time you make your budget, you can keep track of whether you followed it properly. Are there things that need to change? Are there items that were too big, items that were too small? What do you need to adjust so that next time your budget's more accurate? So here's an example of what a simple budget could look like with a zero-based budget. In this case, after going through everything, they had a negative balance, which means they're going to either have to find ways to increase their income or cut back on some of their expenses in order to, make it through. So another type of budget we can look at is the 50-30-20. The way that the 50-30-20 approach is that you split your income into different categories. So your needs are going to be, roughly 50% of your income goes towards covering your needs. Then we say 30% towards covering those extra wants, while making sure that 20% still goes towards your financial future. So savings, debt, all that sort of stuff. When it comes to being a student, chances are your needs are going to be higher than 50%. If you're not living at home, if you're in residence, if you're renting, you're going to have your tuition, you're going to have all your living expenses. Your needs are likely going to be more than 50%. So what you need to do is you just need to find that percentage that works and then adjust your other percentages accordingly. We recommend don't cut out your financial future entirely, right? That's the stuff that helps you get ahead. So even if it's only putting away a little bit every month towards your financial future, it helps build that habit, right? You might not have the income right now to put 20% towards building up your savings. But if you have the money to put $5 every single month gets you used to saving. And then once you have a full-time job after finishing your education, then maybe you can start to put away $10, $15, $100. You've got that habit already. All you need to do is increase the amount. Then finally, the pay yourself first budget. So this is the least strict budgeting approach. The idea is the first thing you do once you get paid is put your money into savings, and then you worry about covering all of your costs after that. Your savings have been taken care of. You're building towards the future, and then it gives you a little bit of wiggle room now with the rest. What do you want to do with it this month? Every month can be different. That's up to you. But by putting your money into savings first, then you're at least helping yourself build towards that future, accomplishing those goals. The big thing with the pay yourself first budget is you need to be realistic about how much money you're actually setting aside. It can be really tempting to say, oh yeah, of course I can put away $500 because it's at the beginning. Before I've used the money, I've got the money, it's there, I'm going to put it away. But as soon as you give yourself the opportunity to start taking money out of your savings, you've kind of broken that seal, and now it's easy to it's tempting to pull from it every single time you need anything. So find an amount that actually works for you, that you can set aside, that you don't touch. It helps you build that habit. And just like with the 50-30-20 budget, then when you get into a situation where you have more money available, you can look at increasing how much you set aside. So when it comes to budgeting, one of the ways that you may be able to look at saving yourself money is with your phone plan. Phones are very, very expensive in Canada. So look at maybe setting up a phone plan with a smaller carrier, maybe shopping around for a deal. Places like Costco, Best Buy, the mobile shop in Loblaws, all these places are third-party sellers. that can help you find the best deal available rather than just going to, say, Rogers or Bell, and they're going to tell you the best deal that Rogers or Bell has, right? If you go to that third-party place, then they're going to help you find the best deal that any of them have. Insurance can be a way to take a potential variable cost and turn it into a fixed cost. The idea is you are paying a smaller amount consistently over time so that you don't have to worry about a big sudden expense that might throw off your budget entirely. So if you're building a budget, considering insurances as part of this could be a good way to help build that stability for yourself. There are going to be certain types of insurance that are going to be required. If you're driving a car, you need auto insurance. That's not a place that you can cut back on costs. So make sure you understand what different insurances are available to you. What's the benefit of those insurances? And is it worth including it in your budget, or is that maybe an area that you're not concerned about right now and you're prepared to handle that potential cost if it comes up? And finally, when considering spending on major purchases, you need to understand all the costs involved and be prepared for them. Make your major purchase a SMART goal that you set up a savings plan for. Start saving as soon as possible. Break your bigger savings goal into monthly goals and celebrate your success when you accomplish those goals so you know you're on the right path. Learn about all of the expenses involved with this major purchase. Do you know how mortgages work, or how much a car loan actually ends up costing, and what all those extra costs are? You know, the dealer fees, the delivery fees, all that different stuff that pops up when you go to actually sign it. So make sure you understand, if it's something like a car, know all of those hidden costs, things like insurance, gas, maintenance, parking, registration, interest that you might have to pay on the loan if you're financing the car or leasing it. Make sure you do your homework before you make a big purchase, because you want to make sure you can pay for everything before you actually start with the purchase. So that is section 2. So for section 2, we talked about taking control of the budget, monitoring our spending, and when you're buying, always be informed. Do your research. If it's a big purchase, don't make a quick purchase. Plan. Consider all your options. Decide what's best for you. And for our final section, we're going to talk a little bit about saving. So saving should be a fixed part of your budget. When you make a budget, you want to put savings directly in that. So it's not something that maybe happens at the end of the month. It happens up front. It happens consistently all the time. It helps you build a habit. First of all, it's how you're going to meet your goals. Saving is going to be the only way to afford some of the more expensive things you might hope for, whether it's a car or a house, without being completely overwhelmed by the debt, interest payments, longer term costs. Saving will help you be prepared if unexpected things come up, whether they're good things or bad things. So everyone should have an emergency fund. A fund is a savings amount that will cover 3 or more months of your typical living expenses. These savings, you know, it can help if something goes wrong. Say your car breaks down and it was a used car, it's an old car, there's no insurance on, or there's no warranty on it, you need to just pay for something new. But having savings can also be there if, you know, your friend says, hey, I'm going to the spa for the weekend. Do you want to come with me? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have those savings built up, that can be a really hard thing to justify. But if you have savings set up to cover different costs, different fun trips, why not, right? Maybe that's something that you've accounted for. And so you can say yes, you can have fun, you can do those things. Saving will help you be in control of your choices. You may be able to buy something you want or need without using debt. You don't always have to settle for the cheapest option. You can find the one that you are happiest with. And it feels good knowing that you have money available. You don't have to worry about your financial matters. You have peace of mind. It helps move you closer to that financial freedom when you know that, this cost came up, but that's okay, right? I'm not going to be struggling to find rent next month. I have some savings to help with that. So here are some things that we can do to start and continue to save. First, make saving a priority. Save some money, even a little bit, before you do anything else with your money. It should be a part of your budget, and you want to make sure that it's something that doesn't change. It's always there. It's not wiggle room. It's set in stone. Set a savings goal that will motivate you. Have a target. Give yourself something specific to work towards and reach for. Try and set a time period to get you there. Set that SMART goal so that you know where you're going. But make sure it is attainable. Setting an unrealistic goal is going to just discourage you from saving, right? If your goal is to have $1 million by next year, it's not going to happen unless you have a really, really strong income. That's not going to happen. And that's just going to discourage you. It's going to feel unattainable. It's going to feel pointless. Set a realistic goal. Be true to yourself. Be real with yourself. And reward yourself. If you succeed in reaching a goal, you deserve it. Now, don't reward yourself in a way that's going to undo everything you've done with your goal, right? If your goal was to save $50, don't spend $50 going out for dinner because you've just undone your goal, unless that was the reason you saved up. But if your goal is to save $50, maybe set a goal of saving $55 and use that extra $5 to reward yourself, something like that. Track your spending. Know where your money is going so that you're not wasting it on silly little things. As I mentioned, Tim Hortons coffee feels insignificant, but it adds up in a year, $730, right? That's almost $1,500 every 2 years on coffee. If you made a pot of coffee at home and spent a fraction of that every 2 years, you could potentially go on a vacation, well, maybe a small vacation, using that money just from cutting back on your coffee expenses. And use a budget and stick to it. So a quick video about compound
Let's assume
interest.
a very generous bank offers to pay John and Lisa a return of 10% per year, and they each invest $1,000 called the principal. John wants to spend the interest each year and only keep the principal in the bank, while Lisa wants to save for 30 years, so she doesn't take the interest out each year. In John's case, the 10% amount to $100 each year. So after 1 year, he'll have $1,100 in his account, out of which he'll take $100. After the second year, he'll once again have $1,100 in his account, out of which he'll take $100. After the 30th year, he'll have $1,100 as usual and take $100. He will be left with $1,000 in his account. So his principal and the returns he made amount to $100 multiplied by 30, so another $3,000. A grand total of $4,000 that he made over 30 years. Lisa, on the other hand, will make more. After 1 year, she will have $1,100 in her account, but she keeps everything there. After the second year, she will earn 10% of those $1,100, and not only on the initial $1,000. Therefore, she will have $1,100 plus $110, so $1,210. After the third year, she will earn 10% of those $1,210 and have $1,331. After year 30, she will have $17,449.40, over 4 times more than John. Let's assume.
Okay, so that is the idea of compound interest, right? It's earning interest on top of previously earned interest. Now, the example in the video, they use 10% interest because it's a nice round number and shows the situation clearly. 10% is unfortunately not realistic in most areas that you would be getting, or in any area where you're going to get compound interest. High interest savings accounts right now, you're looking at closer to 4%. That being said, it's going to take a little bit longer to get those significant returns, but 4% interest is still going to give you a significant return if it's compounded. And the rule of 72 can help give us an idea of how that works. So rule of 72 tells you how long it's going to take for your money to double by taking 72 and dividing it by the interest rate as a whole number. So for example, if you were earning 2% a year, 72 divided by 2 is 36. It will take 36 years for your money to double. So if you had $5,000 in a savings account earning 2% interest, 36 years from now, you would have $10,000. That's why it's very beneficial to keep putting money into those investments over time. if you have the opportunity to continue to add to it, because you're going to continue to see that growth. And it's going to move from just 5,000 for 36 years, but maybe by the end of those 36 years, you've put in 15,000. And so you're going to see some more growth from there. So some other saving tips. So mentioned this before, going to mention it again. Save before you spend. Don't wait until the end of the month to start putting your money aside into savings, or just consider whatever's left over as what you saved. Put your money into a dedicated saving space at the beginning of the month. Don't let yourself dig into it unless you absolutely need to. Make sure it's a realistic amount so that if you can set it there and not touch it at all, then you're going to see that growth. Spend less on transportation, especially if you have a vehicle, driving, gas. Transportation can be really expensive. If you have an opportunity to maybe carpool with someone, that can cut your costs in half, right? If each of you now contributes towards the trip and the gas, it's half the cost for each of you than each of you paying for your own trip. Eating out is a really easy way to spend a whole bunch of money on something that you could spend far less on, right? Eating out tends to be a want, where people might try to justify it as a need because it's food. It's not a need in most cases. Spending less on eating out can save yourself a lot of money in the long run. And don't waste money on extra charges. As I mentioned, things like, you sign up for a streaming service or a subscription service, you mean to cancel it, you forget to cancel it. Now it's been a few months, you keep getting charged for it. Cancel it. Make sure that you keep track of those things. Monitor your expenses so that you know if these things are happening and you're not wasting $20, $30, $40 on something that you thought was going to be free because you only meant to use it the one time. Cut back on your vices. If you're somebody who smokes, you're into gaming, apps, expensive coffees, energy drinks, these are examples of wants, not needs. If you can find ways to cut back on them, they can be difficult to cut back on because by definition, they're vices. But everything that you can cut out is money that can go towards other areas. Avoid impulse buying and fads. They're not going to last long term. And often, if you give yourself the opportunity to sleep on it and think about the next day, is it actually something I need to buy? You're usually going to find out that it's not. Avoid paying interest. This is just extra money that you're spending on something that you already have. So try to make sure if you're going to make a purchase, make sure you have the money for that purchase. If you're using a credit card, if you're starting to use a credit card for the first time, don't just look at it as extra money. It's not extra money. Make sure you make a purchase with money that you do have, right? Spend it on your credit card, but then pay off the credit card so you're not paying interest and you're not hurting your credit score, which is really important long term. And take advantage of sales and deals on things that you were already going to buy. Look at off-season items, thrift shopping, that sort of stuff to save yourself money. That is section 3. So savings helps keep you in control, helps you accomplish your goals. It helps you feel more comfortable in life. We want to make savings a priority rather than having it be just an afterthought that maybe happens, maybe doesn't. Start saving today so that you have that opportunity for compound interest to work in your favor. And so that when those opportunities pop up, you have the money to take advantage of them. So that is everything for our workshop. I'm going to do a brief summary of some of the stuff we talked about, and then we're going to jump into a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, get your questions ready. You'll be able to put them in the chat, or if you want to, you can raise your hand and then unmute yourself. But yeah, let's jump into our quick summary. So in goal setting, we looked at making good money decisions, thinking about why we're making a decision rather than just making it. Having a roadmap to get to those bigger goals so that we have those stepping stones with our goals, and setting SMART goals so we know what we're going to accomplish, how we're going to accomplish it, and we make it as easy as possible to find success. With budgeting and spending, a budget helps you build more control. It may feel restrictive because you're cutting stuff out, but in the end, you're giving yourself the ability to make the purchases you want to make, not just the ones that you didn't realize added up so much. Monitor your spending with that budget. And when buying, always be informed. Make sure that you understand all the different things that go into those big purchases. And with savings, we just talked about how savings can help keep you in control. It's something you want to set as a priority and start as soon as possible. So our learning objectives, we wanted to be able to make more informed purchase decisions by thinking about our thinking and understanding why we're making those decisions and what outside factors might be influencing us. We wanted to create a personal budget that includes savings and other goals. So we looked at the zero-based budget, the 50, 30, 20, and the pay yourself first. Try the different ones, see what works best with your personal lifestyle and approach, and change it up if one's not connecting with you. If it's too strict, if it's too loose, try something else. And apply compound interest to increase your savings long-term. So next steps, set yourself a SMART goal so that you're able to start working towards and make it as easy as possible to accomplish some goals for yourself. Save 5 to 10% of your income if possible, or as much as you can, or whatever, right? Just get into that habit of saving some of your money so that when you're in a situation that you have the funds available to start really increasing your savings, you've already got that habit in place. Keep track of spending and your income for a couple of months so that you can make sure that you're not wasting money in areas you don't care about. And check out some of our program resources from the resource document. That is everything. I will be throwing the post-survey link into the chat. So if you have not, well, nobody would have yet, but if you complete both the pre and post survey for this workshop, you will be entered into a draw to win one of 4 $50 Tim Hortons gift cards. And anybody that has any questions, please feel free. You can unmute yourself and ask. You can raise your hand. You can put something in the chat, in the Q&A, whatever it might be. I am happy to help. This might be looking in a different direction for a moment as I grab the link to the resource document. Resource document, a lot of good stuff. It's things we talked about today, videos, resources, and a bunch of stuff that goes above and beyond what we talked about today. So if you're looking for some additional information, additional research, whatever it might be, some follow-up, you can use the links in the resource document. They are there for you. So I'll give it a couple minutes in case anybody has any questions. It can take a little bit of time if you're trying to type something. And if people do not have any questions, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We have another workshop in 2 weeks. We'll be looking at how to manage debt and credit. Okay, doesn't seem like there are any questions, so thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your evening and hope to see you back here in a couple of weeks for how to manage debt and credit.
Thanks, Chad.